Even when your cold emails don't end up in the spam folder, most of them are too long, too generic, and offer absolutely nothing of value to the person reading them. Problem is, there are more emails being sent right now than at any other point in history, which means if you want to succeed, your cold email needs to do 3 things very well. Number 1, actually land in the primary inbox. Number 2, intrigue buyers enough to even get looked at. And number 3, be relevant enough to their world, their priorities, and their problems that they actually want to take action with you. That is, respond, book a meeting, whatever you're looking for. So in this video, I'm going to be covering exactly that. How to set up your email infrastructure to make sure you actually get delivered, how to write subject lines that actually get your email opened, and how to write body copy that's compelling enough that your email actually gets responded to. And I'll also touch on some follow-up techniques that are more likely to get your prospects' attention rather than just getting you blocked. And if you don't know me, my name is Will, and for the past 9 years, I've been a B2B SaaS account executive and sales trainer. And for as long as I can remember, cold email has been one of the primary drivers of pipeline new meetings for me to actually sell to people. So with that, let's get into it. First things first, email setup. Before we talk about writing a single word, we need to talk about the boring stuff that nobody really wants to deal with, but will absolutely destroy your results if you ignore it. Deliverability. If your cold emails are ending up in spam or the promotions tab, it doesn't matter how good your email is, it's not going to get seen. So here are some of the basics of ending up in the primary inbox. Number 1, you need to make sure you're never ever sending cold emails from your primary domain. To be clear, that means if your company is Acme and your website is acme.com, you should never ever be sending cold emails from will@acme.com. You buy one or several secondary domains to send cold emails from, something like getacme.com or acmeteam.co.uk or acme-team.com. That way you can build up a dedicated cold outbound reputation, and if something goes wrong, it doesn't torch the deliverability of your primary domain, which you need to protect against all costs because your entire team could be affected negatively if that domain gets torched. Number 2, you want to warm up your domain before you send anything from it. A brand new email domain sending 500 cold emails a day is going to be a massive red flag to email clients like Google and Outlook. So what you need to do instead is gradually ramp up sending volume over a few weeks. There are tools out there that can help you with this, like Instantly, SmartLead, and Warmbox, which will basically simulate real conversations with your brand new domain, which will mean that your domain has a healthy reputation before you send a single cold email from it. And then number 3, you need to monitor your domain health. You need to be keeping an eye on your total sending volume, your bounce rate, and your spam complaint rate. If your bounce rate creeps above 3, 4, or 5%, you need to go back and clean up your list, test out some new contact data solutions, verify the emails before you hit send. If you're getting a lot of spam complaints, your copy probably sucks, or you're sending emails to entirely the wrong people, or both. We'll talk more about this later. And in terms of volume, you still don't want to be sending out thousands of emails per domain. You probably want to limit that to around 50 to 100 emails a day, depending on how long you've been using that domain for. I included a deliverability checklist in the link to the description that you can download and match up against what you have set up today. Go grab that, make sure this is set up before you start sending cold emails. It will hurt you if you don't. Once you've got your infrastructure all set up, the next thing you need to consider is subject lines. Your subject line has one job, and that is to get the email opened and not deleted. That's it. It doesn't need to summarize the entire email. It doesn't need to pitch. It just needs to make someone curious enough to actually click on it. An analogy I like to use for this is picturing your cold email as a room with an open door. The door is your subject line. The mistake most sellers make is putting way too much in their subject line. They're pitching, they're trying to sell the open essentially. They're saying things like boost your pipeline by 3x with our AI platform or generate 10 times as many leads from Google. Using subject lines like this are ways to recognize that this matches the pattern of a crappy email. It's kind of like leaving the door wide open so the buyer doesn't even need to open it to know what's inside, and they'll probably get a big whiff of crap coming from that room as well. So what I found works even better is being short, boring, and intentionally vague. 1, 2, or 3 words that accurately describe the topic of the email without spilling your candy at the front door. Some examples might be things like your onboarding, or checkout flow problem, or Q3 hires, or firewall updates. All of these use brevity to avoid looking spammy while still remaining relevant to the recipient's role and their business. It's kind of like cracking open the door slightly so they can get an idea of what's inside, but they need to swing that door fully open to see what's inside, aka open the email. If possible, you can up the relevance by including something specific about them or their business in the subject line. For example, if you're selling to a construction company, you might look up some recent projects that they've won and mention that in the subject line. For example, you might write 102 highway project. That'll be very familiar to the prospect and help you get noticed even more. Basically, make it so they have to open the email to close the loop that you've just opened. Next up, the body. So now that you've got a compelling subject line and your email infrastructure is set up correctly, what do you actually write in the email? Most sellers make the mistake of sending way too much, way too soon, and pitching a lot. A good email is extremely short and compelling, around 50 to 100 words, and it's built up of 5 key parts. Each part has its own specific job. So the first part part is saying something about them. It's basically explaining why you've chosen to reach out to them specifically. Most people start their emails with a greeting or an introduction. Instead, I want to make it all about them to basically highlight that I've done some research and something you've noticed about them or their company that's going to relate to why you're reaching out in the first place. A few of your team have been using sales growth resources, and we've done discovery training and benchmarking with other HR tech companies like Gloat, Zenefits, and Ashby. Caitlin, Source Sapporo is consolidating to Richmond, moving on from Stone and going all in on Sapporo Premium and the new NA and Light lines. Noticed Eastlink just expanded into New Brunswick and Newfoundland on wholesale infrastructure. The same month, the CRTC botnet blocking framework and traceback mandate both took effect. Looks like Western Dental's probably showing up better for a lot of folks searching for care in the Oceanside. Online booking, reviews, photos all up front, no friction to get a patient in the chair. So this is your research. It's not, I've stalked your LinkedIn profile for 45 minutes. It's more so things that have been happening at their company or in their industry right now that relate into what you say next. Part 2, a priority or challenge that you can infer. This is the bridge. This is where you connect what you've seen to why you're actually reaching out. You want to try and connect your research to a problem, challenge, or priority that you can assume they could be facing. And the key word here, could be facing. You're not going to be telling them that they have a problem. You're going to be suggesting one based on work you've done with similar clients in the past. Continuing those exact examples that I was running through before, it might sound like this. With 97 sellers and 20 more roles open, ramp time is usually slow, most by discovery discipline. New reps default to pitching because no one's trained them on what problems to listen for early in a deal. Sounds like a lot of new SKUs could be hitting retail channels at once, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it looks like you're doing this without a dedicated e-commerce person on the team. Four Roses Bourbon had a similar setup. New products were sitting on shelves with no one on listing because their team was manually formatting content for each retailer. Can't be sure if it's the case for you, but when a security team is suddenly responsible for policy governance across networks they don't own, alongside a dual vendor 5G environment, rule management tends to outpace whatever manual process was working before. Took a look at your site after and spotted one or two places you could bridge that gap, mostly how booking and your Invisalign and implant work are presented. Part 3 of the email is an offer. At this point, now that you've covered what you know about them, a problem they could be facing, you can make an offer to make their life easier. This should be something that's framed as valuable to them, even if they never ever bought from your company at all. A short guide, insights, case study, a checklist, an audit, a 60-second overview. In doing so, if you can attach relevant social proof, even better. With those emails from before, it could sound like this. Float had the same issue. We benchmarked their discovery calls and found patterns cost them winnable deals. Happy to share that assessment if useful. They centralized and cut syndication time by 85%. Got a short breakdown of how they did it. Bell's security team ran into something similar during their own regional expansion. Happy to share how they handled it without adding overhead. Happy to record a quick video showing what I found if attracting new patients is a priority right now. Now you've given them a reason to care, and you're showing them you've done this before, and you're giving them a potential solution to the problem that you suggested beforehand. And that's when it comes to part 4, a binary ask. Make the email stupid easy to reply to. A yes or no question. Not let's hop on a quick call, or when are you available to chat, or use my link here to book some time. That's all a lot of high effort. All we want is a response from them, and we can use that response to then go ahead and book a meeting, book a call, or send over an asset. So we might finish off those emails with something like this. Worth a quick look. Should I send it over? Worth a conversation, Jeff. Sound helpful or feel all set? And finally, part 5, this one is optional, a PS. A PS line at the bottom of an email is weirdly effective. Most people's eyes jump straight to it. So you can use it to add something a bit more personal, a bit of warmth, maybe even some extra research that you've done on them to make sure they know this email is just for them. Basically, it makes the email feel less templated. So you might say, PS, saw you at SaaStr last week, jealous, I've been trying to get out there for a few years. Or PS, your team's LinkedIn content is actually incredible, I've had a great laugh looking through it. Or PS, saw you in Banff recently, how was the snow? It's small, but it makes the whole email feel more like a human wrote it. So those are some examples of your first email: short, relevant, problem focused, making a good offer, and creating a binary ask. Now, most of the time, people aren't going to respond to your first email. That's just the reality of things, even if it was great. That's why you're going to want to plan to follow up on that first email. Now, the mistake that people make when it comes to follow up is they just keep bumping the same thing over and over again. It becomes repetitive, or they just kind of annoy people by saying things like thoughts on my last email, or bumping this to the top of your inbox, or circling back on my last thing, or hey, did you see my last email? This is the shit that gets you blocked. It's so annoying. What you want to do instead is change the topic or add more context. Every single one of these is a wasted touch because you introduced no new information. All you did was remind them that you exist, which isn't the flex that you think it is. So instead, here's how you can follow up properly. Every follow-up needs to earn its place by adding something new that the buyer didn't have beforehand. And the good news is, because you kept your initial email very, very short, there's probably lots more that you can say to the buyer that's going to be relevant to them. You could change up the problem that you're speaking about, the observation that you used. You could give them a new offer. You could add more context to actually how you help people solve the problem that you mentioned in your first email. You can include a gift, an asset, or video in this email to change up the format and keep it fresh. If you'd like to see a video talking specifically about follow-ups and cadences and sequences and that type of thing, drop a comment below, and if there's a lot of people asking for it, I will make one. All right, chapter 5, how to scale this up using AI, automation, that type of thing. When you were listening to the previous sections, you're probably thinking, Will, how do I scale this stuff up? I want to reach a lot more people, and this sounds like it's going to take me loads of time. You're right, and that's why you can start using some automation and AI in your process. But most people use it entirely the wrong way. What they end up doing is using AI, and as things scale up, it gets worse and worse, which ultimately gets them blocked, ruins their reputation, and doesn't do any good. If you throw a vague prompt into something like ChatGPT or Claude and give it very little context, like write me a cold email to a VP of sales to help me book a meeting, all AI is going to do is give you a generic, lifeless, and obviously AI generated email back, which isn't going to do you any good. And trust me, your buyers will smell it too. It's not a good look. The key with using any AI or AI tools successfully is in your prompts. To get good outputs, you need to make sure that you are front loading everything you're asking it to give you with a ton of context. The more specific the input, the better the output. And beyond the context about what you sell, what your company does, your offers and that type of thing, you need to give it lots of context on who it's actually reaching out to, the company, the signals that you might have observed, your research, the role of the person you're reaching out to and what they're typically responsible for. Without that, AI emails tend to be very awful, and although you can send a lot of them in a lot less time, they won't get you any results. I actually built an AI prompt library that you can use for your cold emails. Link that in the description, so be sure to check that out if you want to build good AI emails. A few other rules that you want to consider if you're trying to scale your outbound cold emails is 1, bury your emails. If you send out 500 emails that are the exact same structure, they have the same rhythm, they have the same phrasing, email providers are going to flag that as spam. And all your buyers are going to get the exact same thing, which probably isn't very relevant to them. You want to bury your emails, changing up the syntax for each. And the second rule you want to make sure you're aware of is don't skip your quality checks. AI can be very smart, it can also be very stupid. Be sure to look through a good sample of the emails before you start whacking send, because otherwise you might just be sending out a bunch of rubbish to a bunch of people. Don't trust AI too much, keep yourself in the loop. And that's the whole game. Cold emails certainly isn't dead, it still works today, but lazy cold emailing is on its way out. If this video was helpful to you, consider hitting subscribe, drop a like on it, and be sure to write a comment below on what you'd like to see me make content on in the future. See you next time.